Sharpfere Dinsang. Hello everyone and welcome back to Sharpfere Dinsang. If this is your first time tuning in, then welcome to the best ever channel that you've ever come across, and welcome back to our usual subbies. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And as usual, you guys know Uguti's and shout out to everyone who subscribed. I always give you guys shout outs. You guys know this. Thank you to everyone that's been commenting on the previous videos, and I'm so glad to say we are nearing 100 subscribers. And listen guys, I'm just saying, from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000, we're gonna just keep the momentum going. So actually, I'm very rude because I didn't actually introduce myself as I usually do in the beginning of the intro, but ikamalam unumbulelo, and this is my channel. Okay, today, can I just say how I am so disappointed in myself for going about my day on Friday, and because there was a whole staff party with the guys that I work with, and we're like, okay, cool, let's go out. And having shots and shots and shots, had good food, great vibes. It was nice, But now the problem was that because most of us were not on our phones, we kind of didn't know what was going on in the streets. To kind of keep you guys in the loop and everything, I wanted to actually talk about this whole Andile Mpisane, Sithelo Shozi, Mamkhize, Tamia, Louw's situation, because all those four people at the moment are the most talked about people on social media. And literally I think even before recording this video, I had to do my research because it's very, very important that we understand who these people are that I've just mentioned, how they've just gotten to the point that they've gotten to now, and the reason why they were trending all on Friday. So before we jump right in, please don't forget to comment, like, share, most importantly, subscribe should you like the video. I'm hoping that you do, so make sure that you actually press that red button down below that says subscribe, and make sure that the notification settings are set on. We are starting in Mpisane, and if you're not familiar with who the Mpisanes are, please make sure that you check previous videos on my channel. You will see that I've spoken about Mamkhize from time to time, I think across 2 videos, but if you are too lazy to look at that, you can also hop onto my TikTok at @you_nombulelo, and you'll see just some of the stuff that I usually do social commentary on. Friday now we Uber. I'm like, okay, why is Andile, Sithelo, Tamia, and Mamkhize trending? And I'm trying to put one and one together and trying to understand what the fuck is going on, okay? And I still wasn't really getting an answer. However, I then saw this video. So after seeing that video, I concluded one thing. I was like, okay, clearly these two are engaged to marry, meaning Andile and Tamia. And that for me was also, it kind of caught me off guard, because the whole of Instagram knew that Andile Mpisane had been, dating longtime girlfriend and the mother of his 2 kids, Sithelo Shozi, who is, an Instagram influencer. She's also she's a DJ. And I've never really heard her since, but a well-known socialite, from KZN, and so that's who she is. She previously had a child with Lord Phil, where there's also controversy there, where Lord Phil actually had had a child, Sithelo, right? And that was as a result of her Ashaya Thandeka Istina. And Thandeka was basically Lord Phil's wife. So we're not gonna be talking about that drama. However, this is where it also gets interesting, right? Because Andile, for the longest time, people have always pointed out the fact that Andile is 20 and Sithelo is 26. I think it's 26 or 27, so right about my age. And obviously there's a huge gap, right, between the two. It's not really huge, but when you think about it, if Andile and Sithelo had met in high school, apparently Sithelo had met Andile while he was still in high school. It's a classic example of grooming, like no matter how we look at it, and that is the reason why so many people call Sithelo Arstelli, right? Cool. Okay, abantu bayavuka, and obviously this video is then shared on Instagram. It's a whole live. You have the likes of Abo Sean Stylist, who are now, you know, capturing the day. Abo Mamkhize, Abo Andile, Abo Tamia. And it begs the question, where the fuck was Sithelo? Guys, how is it that your boyfriend, the father of your 2 children, is now engaged to then marry someone else who was never really in the picture, allegedly? Because even across my social media pages, Andile and Tamia, you never really got to see these two. And that was where I started asking the question. I'm like, how did this even happen? Because the first question I thought to myself, how did Tamia, or how did Andile basically meet Tamia, or how did Tamia meet Andile? Because one, the last time I checked, Tamia was actually based in Johannesburg, and 2, Andile is based in KZN, right? Because that's where he stays. But yeah, he does, you know, frequent Joburg quite a lot. And before you guys drag me and say, no, it could be, you know, Andile, look, I'm checking but, you know, where you're like, okay, cool. Sorry, guys, I literally had to answer the door because my uncle was here. So, yeah, as I was saying, before you guys drag me and say, you know, it is very much possible for Andile to have met Tamia, but I don't know. For me, they could have also been signs that, you know, these two actually do know each other somewhere, somehow. But there's literally no links whatsoever. And so that's why for a lot of us, it's like, okay, but how did this come about? And that's basically the answer that most of us are trying to figure out. And how did we get from that to an entire engagement, nomshado, and a brand new car, and the fact that apparently someone was served protection papers? It's a lot. Like, it's really, really a lot. So what you guys would have seen in the video is basically Andile, you know, basically proposing to his girlfriend. And for me, I asked myself certain questions. I was like, okay, cool. Khona incwadi yokuya emndenini kaTamia iye yafika na, because you know how, like, people like Abo Andile bathanda ukubonwa, right? As well as the family. And so I'm very sure if that actually did happen, someone would have captured or, you know, talked about it somewhere on their stories, because we've got the likes of Mamkhize, Sean the Stylist, who are probably the biggest people in that family who just like to talk and bafuna ukubonwa. Secondly, there was a rumor that was circulating on the day that was saying that Tamia, the reason why Andile actually married, you know, Tamia, or engaged Tamia, was because she is now going to be expecting twins, Esga Andile. Again, I don't even know how true that is, because again, I'm not even sure, because mangimbuka ulentuzana Tamia, she doesn't look pregnant, but at the same time, I do understand that pregnancy is very easily, you know, with some people, and so it is very hard to tell whether or not she is pregnant. However, because Sean the Stylist did mention that, I think it was through a video clip and whatnot, which I'll try and, you know, squeeze in. He did say something about, it was when they were buying the car. Yes, when they were revealing the car. He mentioned something about, yeah, na imfuthi moto for mama twins or something like that.
Hayi ke nina nenza lokhu nithi senze advert or music video. Nganithenga lenye SVR. Umithi lona ama-twins lawo.
And that for me, I was like, okay, if that's the case, then okay, I think we are looking at a classic example of, you know, situations where, you know, families kind of encourage kids to, okay, not really kids, but like, you know, their kids in the family to get married to one another, especially where pregnancy is concerned, because there's this expectation that manshata, you guys are going to give the kids a lot more stability when you guys are together, you know, as the mother and the father, and that is the situation. So while Tina Sonke Sihlatlamehlo and about this whole engagement, there's certain things where I was super confused, because a part of me was like, okay, I don't know whether this was organized by Mamkhize, but I'm assuming it probably was with Usho the stylist, because they're very close. But the way that people were dressed, firstly, Andile dressed like he was not really prepared for what was going on. Tamia at least actually looked very beautiful, I must say. Sithelo, however, Sithelo Mpisane, who is Andile's her sister, was also wearing a suit. Nakhona, I'm like, this chick looked like she literally just came out of gym and was like, oh, let me rush to my brother's engagement, and here we are. So and then also, okay, the rest of the outfits were fine, but I was like, why does it feel like it felt like a setup? Like, it just felt like nobody knew about this except those 4 people. And I don't know, hey, like, I really don't know. And obviously, we all got to ask ourselves, Uguti, while all of this is happening, where is Sithelo Shozi? Where is Miss Shozi? Because not so long ago, she had posted a video and some, stories or whatever, where Bengati, she was unraveling a car, but only to find that apparently that car that she, kind of opened was a car that is actually Andile's car that was custom wrapped. And that's why it seems as though they were very confused, because they thought ukuthi le moto beyiphuma ku-Andile. But coming to think of it, I'm like, I had not seen a video prior where the Mpisane family would be buying Sithelo a car. Because, guys, a car is expensive. And I'm not denying the family has money. But there's so many things that we need to factor in, because Mamkhize is very protective of her family. And so to just someone buy a car for Sithelo, she might as well buy a car for Sean, right? So that for me, I was like, okay, that was also just stunting on another level. So as I'm obviously doing my research and whatnot about Sithelo and, trying to understand her relationship with, Mamkhize, one of the things that I realized was there was a time where Mamkhize had posted about her granddaughter, who, Sithelo shares with Andile. Is it Flo? I think her name was Flo. And she said, look, Flo is like, the biggest blessings in my life and whatnot. But one thing I noticed was the fact that she did not mention the mother of that child, considering that the mother of the child is actually dating her son. And that for me was also just weird, because I was like, but you guys are forever together. Like, what's going on? Surely you can acknowledge her. But especially considering how much Andile is so in love with her. But I mean, manje asazi ukuthi whether he still is. And another thing that popped up also was an article. In fact, there was an article, I think it was on Celebs, where I completely missed it, because I personally, as much as I run this channel, but sometimes I just try and not follow certain individuals, so I read through people's experiences or tweets or posts or whatever. And there was an article about how Sithelo, there was an event that was basically due to take place. I think this was last week, could be wrong. Yeah, I think it was this past week or last week, and she was meant to actually DJ. So Andile was also going to be there. A couple of heavyweights were meant to actually play on that day at that club. And Sithelo then shared the poster and was like, no, her and her team are not going to show up. They're not affiliated to that event. Following that, Casper's Bay, Utobega Majosi, also then said, oh no, she's no longer going to be emceeing, because I know Guti, she was going to be emceeing with Ushawn. So that also wasn't going to happen anymore. So all these people are basically dropping, right? Until the mother of all mothers, Dr. President Mamkhize, she went onto Instagram to basically say to people that, look, this party is still happening with or without certain people, and it's not a cross and whatnot, because Sithelo, I think, put like a red cross, red mark or red X on the poster, and Mamkhize was basically like shading her through that, which I was like, geez, Mamkhize can be shady as fuck, bruh. Like, she will shade you however she wants. That was already telling to just what kind of relationship they basically had, and the fact that it was basically non-existent, apart from the fact that, I mean, Sithelo was dating Andile, and the fact that she, has 2 grandkids as Mamkhize. So that already could tell Uguti, okay, cool, so Letule Aizwani. And it now brings me to my point around concluding that perhaps maybe this was a thing that Mamkhize organized to, you know, kind of push Andile to get away from Sithelo, because I can't imagine what other reason this could have basically happened, especially considering that just the suddenness of everything. You look at all the events that have basically taken place prior. There was no mention or no picture, no image of Tamia anywhere in the family's lives until now. And prior to that, it's just been Sithelo, right? And so it's just, yeah, bruh, it's really, really giving me publicity vibes. Because I, for one, I'm like, I was looking at people in those videos that I saw on Friday, and I'm like, and I know there are people who also did say that this whole thing was like a, it could have been a, sorry guys, could have been like a music video shoot, and that is the reason why, you know, yeah, why all of that was basically happening. I'm just here and I'm like, yo, guningi guys, like guningi. The fact that I'll even show you, like when I was doing my research, like with this whole debacle, I'm like, yo, guys, it's drama. Yes, it's drama. It's my family drama. This is literally my entire page that I wrote on my research, because I'm like, there's just a lot. There's a lot. So what other people were also saying to, you know, or rather that were saying on, you know, the timeline, some people had also said, look, because of Sithelo's doings and her ashaya abanye abantu ngiyidina, this is possibly karma, because I mean, yo dude, imagine back sharing ingane ezithu, already your first man left you with the one because washaya istina, right, lapha, now you've got two more. And babes, you need to start changing your ways, okay? You need to start changing your ways and doing a lot better than what you're currently doing now. And personally, Lentuzana, no, not personally, but rather what I did notice on Instagram was that Sithelo also closed off a comment section, because obviously people are just like making a mockery of the whole thing. But personally, here's my 2 cents, right? Before I conclude today's video. Firstly, I do think that Sithelo, because Sithelo has been saying, I mean, why would you like end things with your man when he's cheated? Like every man cheats and whatnot, blah 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 blah. And I wonder, Uguti, will she basically leave? Will she basically leave Andile considering this whole situation, or will she be strong enough to basically stick around even with Tamia then there, and now obviously Tamia getting the family's backing? But secondly, I also do think that Sithelo gives me vibes of she does want stability, but stability that also just comes with wealth in order to basically take care of her, right? Because I can only imagine, like, she's made her name in the influencer game as well, and she's a DJ, and I'm sure they pay her big bucks. That's enough for me to just, you know, I would go my separate way and just start Gabusha and just leave men alone, because right now I'm at the Plaza, like, cool, you know? And I think the sad thing though about all of this is the fact that I think maybe the pressure of, you know, Sithelo wanting to be a part of that family also comes from the fact that her own sister, what's her name? Shozi, also has a very much stable life. She's married to someone who's very wealthy, has her own kids, and life, guys, like, and I do feel like Sithelo basically wants that, because I think Stella's the oldest. And so looking at your sister getting all of that and you're basically trying to amount to the same thing is giving very much insecurity vibes. And now with this whole situation, I ask myself, what is going to happen next? You know, I look, don't quote me, but if it is indeed a stunt, it's a damn wild good stunt to basically push her away. But she's gonna push, she's literally gonna distance herself. She's definitely gonna still keep lurking around, but so and but yeah, the relationship, I wouldn't lie, it's really been interesting. And I'm still just, you know, watching social just to see what's going on and how Tamia nabo nje yazini nihleko zabo ezifake yazingiphathisa stress, because I'm like, Like, is this real? Like, is this really, really real? I need to understand that part. So yeah, so let me know what you guys think about this whole Mpisane wedding engagement situation that took place on Friday. And let me know ukuthi nina nicabangani, and whether is it Mamkhize who set it up. Andile seems to not know what's going on. Let me know what your thoughts are. But yeah, so anyway, thank you so much, guys, for tuning into today's video, and I will see you guys next time when I'm actually feeling a lot better. But I'm probably gonna release a video in like the next day or so. And yeah, so from me, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.